freezes $2 billion in Harvard funding after university rejects demands. Details now. Thank you for staying tuned. The world news at 12 begins on the foreign scene, where the Trump administration had said it is freezing more than $2 billion in federal funds for Harvard University, hours after the elite college rejected a list of demands from the White House. The White House sent a list of demands to Harvard last week, which it said were designed to fight anti-Semitism on campus. They included changes to its governance, hiring practices, and admissions procedures. Harvard rejected it and said the White House was trying to control its community. It is the first major U.S. university to defy pressure from the Trump administration to change its policies. The sweeping changes demanded by the White House would have transformed its operations and ceded a large amount of control to the government. President Trump has accused leading universities of failing to protect Jewish students when protests against the war in Gaza and U.S. support for Israel last year roiled college campuses around the country. In a tragic development back home in Nigeria, tears flowed freely when the Zike community of Basa local government area of Plateau State laid to rest the 51 victims of the recent heinous attacks on the area. The victims were murdered early on Monday when the perpetrators stormed the village and started shooting sporadically, leading to scores of deaths in what has become a recurring incident in the state. At the solemn event, members of the community recalled how the incident happened, describing it as disheartening. Monday's carnage came despite reassurances from government authorities and less than 2 weeks after a similar dastardly killing left over 50 people dead and several others nursing injuries. Irked by the recurrent deadly attacks on the state, President Bola Tinubu has ordered security agencies to go after the killers, describing the latest wave of assault on the north-central state as devastating. Gunmen reportedly stormed the prayer session at a remote mountain site in the Ebola area along Agbaja Road in Lokoja local government area of Kogi State and abducted an unspecified number of worshippers. The incident reportedly occurred on Friday during a vigil on the mountain. A woman identified as Mary Adams Guri was said to have been rescued by men of the state vigilante services who got wind of the incident and mobilized to the scene and confronted the gunmen in a gun duel. According to the source, the attackers stormed the prayer ground, firing sporadically to instill fear before forcefully whisking the worshippers into the bush. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 general election, Peter Obi, has accused the Benue state government of politicizing his planned visits to internally displaced persons, IDP camps, and health institutions in the state. In a statement shared on Monday via his official X account, formerly called Twitter, Obi expressed disappointment over what he described as deliberate attempts to frustrate his humanitarian trip to Benue, lamenting what he called the growing politicization of good causes in Nigeria. Top government officials reportedly advised Governor Aliyah against granting Obi access to the IDP camps, citing political undertones. Governor Aliyah has said he could not guarantee the security of any high-profile figure in the state. Reacting, however, Obi explained that his visit, scheduled for April 14, was part of a two-state outreach beginning in Plateau State on April 13. While he said the Plateau State governor warmly welcomed his intention to visit, he was unable to directly reach Benue State Governor Reverend Father Hassan Dalia, despite several attempts. Obi added his history of humanitarian work, stating, "This is what I have done in my private life for years. Before getting into politics, and even while in politics, I have continued to do so." End quote. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has insisted that a coalition remains the only way to unseat President Bola Tinubu in the 2027 elections. Atiku argued against the position of 11 PDP governors who distanced the party from the proposed coalition being championed by the former Vice President. Rising from their meeting in Ibadan on Monday, the PDP Governors Forum, chaired by Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed, announced that the party would not participate in any coalition or measure. On March 20, Atiku, who contested the 2023 presidential elections under the PDP, alongside former Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi and ex-Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, announced the creation of a coalition aimed at defeating President Tinubu in the 2027 polls. The announcement had sparked growing debate, with stakeholders differing on the coalition's viability. On March 8, Atiku shared his efforts to bring together opposition groups and form a coalition to defeat the ruling APC. But reading the communique on behalf of 11 PDP governors, the Bauchi State Governor stated that instead of joining any coalition, the party, as a major opposition force, would welcome any party, individuals or groups willing to join it in the pursuit of reclaiming power and establishing good leadership in 2027. The national spokesperson of the Coalition of United Political Parties, CUPP, Mark Adebayo, has accused President Bola Tinubu of engineering disorganization and persistent divisions within opposition political parties. Speaking during a television appearance, Adebayo said recent judicial interventions, especially the Supreme Court judgment on the Labour Party crisis, pointed to a need for internal reconciliation. He also alleged a coordinated effort to weaken opposition voices ahead of the 2027 general elections. Pressed further, he directly accused the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, and the presidency of orchestrating the chaos. He noted it is a concentrated attack on opposition political parties to make sure that none of the parties is at peace prior to the 2027 general elections. Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Dr. Bafemi Hamzat, has expressed his concerns regarding the high estimated billing practices of electricity distribution companies, citing that Eko Disco issued a bill of 29 million naira to his residents at the State House this month. Prior to this, he had received a bill of 2.7 million naira for electricity usage in March. Describing the situation as crazy, he noted that although he had acquired a meter, the failure to convert the facility has posed a significant challenge. He shared this experience during the roundtable meeting and the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding (MOU) between the Lagos State Government and the Rural Electrification Agency (REA) in Lagos. The Lagos State Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources organized the meeting. The MOU signing marked the initiation of a power project aimed at extending electricity access to rural communities in Lagos. The REA has already pinpointed several communities in Ekpe, Badagry, Ojo, Amuwadofin, and others for this initiative. Funding for the project will be provided by the federal and state government, along with private stakeholders, in the distribution of 60%, 30%, and 10% respectively. The Deputy Governor recounted his experience with estimated billing to highlight the significance of the new renewable electricity project that the REA will lead. You are currently listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We will now head into the news analysis segment. Joining me to discuss issues in the news this afternoon, I have veteran journalist, political, social and national affairs analyst, Mr. Dele Fanimo. Always a pleasure to have these conversations with you, Mr. Fanimo. Good afternoon.
Good to be here once again.
Thank you so much for coming. I want to begin with this very tragic development. A lot of Nigerians are not happy at the moment, and not just those who are affected, especially because we know that yesterday's survivors are the ones who became the victim of today. We could say that Sunday's survivors were the ones who became the victim of Monday's attack. There are videos, right, of a mass burial, and when you watch that video, you cannot but just feel some type of way at the fickleness of security in the country as it is in these moments. Humans were being arranged like fish in a carton to be buried in mass due to attacks by assailants whom up till now we do not know who they are or what exactly it is that they are trying to achieve. President Bola Tinubu has said enough is enough. Would you expect that he will now become proactive?
You see, it's so sad. It's so sad. And it rackles my brain, my being, that 51 people, when they are not at war, they were not armed, they were caught unawares and caught short in their prime. And not a single person is held responsible for these. These killers didn't come descending from heaven. They came from one location to unleash mayhem in another location. And these are people that are in their homestead. It's not the first time. It's not the second time. If you do a mental calculation of losses in Benue and Plateau in the last 10, 15 years, you will be talking in thousands, if not tens of thousands. And it's bad enough that people are being killed unarmed without any aggression from them. It's worse that nobody is taking responsibility for this, and it becomes the worst part of it when those people who swore to make sure that they provide security and welfare are not doing anything. It's not enough for the president to show bravado each time there is this killing. 51, just 51 people one day. And if you look at the demography of these people that were killed, nobody could tell me that some 70-year-old and above were there. These are people that should have contributed in one way or the other to the development of this country, and their lives were cut short. As a matter of fact, the political will to stop this must come from the president now and not a minute later. Government apparatus is strengthened enough using taxpayers' money to detect, to arrest, prosecute, and get conviction for the soul of these people. Anything short of that, anything that will just give us the impression that somebody somewhere is working and we don't get results, it's too bad for the country.
You know, Mr. Falimo, Benue State, its slogan is supposed to be the food basket of the nation, while Plateau State is known as the home of peace and terrorism. But there is no peace in the home of peace and terrorism. People cannot tour the state because there is no peace, right? When you go to Benue, it's the amount of food that is supposed to be feeding the nation coming from Benue State, with the way food is expensive right now. If Benue was producing food the way it's supposed to, food wouldn't be as expensive as it is right now. So even for every Nigerian who live in other regions of the country who feel that it's happening up north and it does not affect me in any way, we have to understand that this is how it affects us. I want to go back to what the DSS director said some time ago, where he talked about how there are measures that have been put in place for self-defense, and people in these communities can come to them so that they can interface. Seeing as a lot of Nigerians believe that there is no political will to actually end insecurity, and this is coming from a federal government apparatus which is saying, come to us, we'll provide measures for you to actually defend yourself. Would you actually advise these communities to go ahead, interface with the DSS and find these measures to protect themselves against this assailant? And even if they do, whatever it is they're getting from the DSS, would it be as sophisticated as the weapons that the assailants are holding?
You see, if there is a balance of force, it becomes extremely difficult for an assailant to come to your domain. Let me take you back in time. You're talking about Plateau being home of peace and tourism. Don't forget that Plateau is the only place in Nigeria where apple can grow, because of the temperate nature of that climate. Today, Irish potato grows in Plateau. These are food of the elite that should be accessed without importing. What you see on the street, in the market, are imported Irish potato and imported apple that are GMO. Anyway, GMO is something that we may not be discussing now here, so that we don't lose track. But the point is, do you know that I was once a dog breeder? I get my dogs in Plateau, because that's where you have pedigree dogs owned by the whites, because most times they will prefer to settle in Plateau because of the climatic condition there. But all those ones are no more. So what we are saying is, if they decimated the power of people in Plateau and Benue since 1976. Before 76, Dimka coup, Plateau and Benue were the most states that produced rank and file in the military. That was when they started killing on charges of coup, the likes of Bisala, the likes of Cheleng, and so on and so forth. And then when Gideon Oka, who is also from that axis, also planned and failed, they routed them. Most of these people, if you find out, you will see about, out of these 51, you might be surprised that you find about 10 of these people that were ex-military men. And they mop up arms in Benue and Plateau about 7 or 8 years ago. Now, those guys
to prevent the people from defending themselves.
From defending
right.
themselves.
So we know that these assailants.
You withdrew what they could use to withstand these assailants, and you didn't provide shields for them.
Leaving them vulnerable.
And they are now vulnerable. Anytime those killers come in, they know that these people are defenseless. So they can afford to kill, they can afford to maim, they can afford to rape without anybody challenging them.
Here's the
and
thing.
Return back to their camp.
These assailants, right? A lot of people believe that they have an agenda, and this agenda is being funded by someone or some people somewhere, because they cannot just get these weapons on their own. Also, the fact that our borders are so porous to actually allowing such kind of sophisticated arms and ammunition. You've seen several videos of arms being hidden, maybe in sacks, being hidden inside of vehicles that are passing through villages, and these vehicles could be carrying livestock, could be carrying food. There are a lot of people involved in this chain of degeneracy, that until it gets to the point where these assailants get the weapons and use them against Nigerians. So there are different ways where this can actually be tackled to make sure that we starve these bad people of the weapons that they use against Nigerians. How about that?
You see, starving them is one. 2, let us license locals to bear weapons. If they cannot carry AK-47, let them carry double-barrel guns. If somebody knows that is likely to be killed if it comes to your community, he would think twice before coming in.
Wouldn't that lead them to even getting more sophisticated weapons?
Exactly. No, even if he has. Look, let me tell you, I can fire a double barrel gun. I can fire pump action. And pump action carries between 8, 10, and 12 rounds. So if you come to my community and we have about 50 people armed to that extent, that assailant would watch his back before coming in. But already they all know that they have mopped up arms from these communities. So what they have is machete and knife. How much can that do when you are facing somebody who has
with a gun, who can shoot you from a distance?
Yes, and the killing range of AK-47, as you see, is about 500 to 600 meters. That's half a kilometer. So the man can stay here and fire you in Oshodi.
You know, while we're talking about all of this, we're also getting reports that some worshippers who went to the mountain to pray were abducted by unknown gunmen. Peter Obi has been visiting different areas in the country, even before the 2023 elections, even before he came out as a presidential candidate. He's talked about how he's always been involved in philanthropic works. We've seen several pictures and videos of him doing this as governor of Anambra State after he left the seat as the governor. Right now, he posted something on X, formerly called Twitter, where he talked about how the Benue State government, the governor, is stopping him from visiting the state to help the people. He had planned to visit the IDP camps the same way he's visited Plateau, the same way he's visited other northern states who suffered insecurity, who suffered from other different situations. What exactly is the reason why the Benue State governor is stopping someone, even if this person was a former presidential candidate, from visiting his people to help them out when they have an issue? He's talking about the fact that this is being politicized. Governor Aliyah is an APC governor. Peter Obi, of course, is of the Labour Party. The Plateau State governor who allowed him visit the state recently is a PDP governor. What is it that is making Governor Aliyah stop Obi from visiting? He's saying it's insecurity and that he cannot guarantee the safety of any political elite who visits him at this moment.
You see, he has explained his own perspective to it, that he can't guarantee the safety of politically exposed people. And God forbid, if anything happens to Peter Obi during his visit to that community, it will be in the news that APC orchestrated the killing of Peter Obi. And
so he's trying to be careful.
Yeah, he's just trying to be careful. And Peter Obi can make his donation without physical appearance. I think it's an advice that I would suggest that Peter Obi should heed now. How much of security presence is around Peter Obi to ward off assailants that could come for him? He should mind where he treads now, given the fact that there's a build-up to another round of election.
But what would it have taken the governor to actually provide security for him to visit the state, knowing that what he's coming to do is a good deed?
What I'm saying is, even if the security report does not favor his coming, I think it's better for him to heed that.
Would you say that Governor Aliyah is seeing this as a form of campaigning ahead of 2027? And that's also one of the reasons
What
for
campaign?
this.
What campaign? Labour Party is not strong in Benue. And there is no way Peter Obi would influence vote. The contest for governorship in Benue would rather be between PDP and APC. So it doesn't have much of political capital in Benue. But what we are saying is the issue around Benue is volatile. Security is not guaranteed in a place like Benue, in a place like Plateau, in a place like Borno, in a place like Zamfara. I've had cause to do one or two things with Zamfara in the last 1 year, but I refrained from going there because I'm not too sure if one is not kidnapped on the road, one could be caught in crossfire, and that would be the end.
But here's another thing. Obi talks about how he tried to reach the governor's office for days before his planned visit to let the governor know that, okay, I'm coming to visit your state. But he was unable to reach them for one reason or the other until he got a message saying, we cannot guarantee your safety if you come here.
You see, I've been very close to government, and I know these operators of government, how they do their thing. Sometimes they will tell you they are reading the body language of the governor, whereas what the intention of the governor may be different from that person that probably got hold of the letter or message from Peter Obi, and the thing may not even get to the governor. I have seen instances where there was a case of a friend who wanted to see Uguayi when he was the governor of Enugu State. Somebody, a top-ranking military officer who is from that state and who wanted to have audience with the governor. It took my intervention that I had to find a way of getting the governor to talk to that man. Whereas they kept giving him appointments and they never even informed the governor about his presence.
So you're saying Governor Aliyah may not be aware of the antics of the people in his administration. He may not be aware of the information or the press statement that his chief press secretary is putting out.
You don't understand what I'm saying. At the point of the press secretary putting out information, the press secretary may even get instructions from the SSG, who may even claim that. You see, you need to understand the way these government people. That's why most times when I want to refer to them, I call them evil servants.
Not civil servants.
I'm telling you.
All right, let's move on from that because of our time and talk about PDP governors rejecting a measure coalition, whatever it is that anybody wants to call it. They're saying they don't want to be a part of it. That all they know is if anyone wants to join the PDP ahead of 2027 and help the party clinch the presidential seat, help the party gain victory in the 30 states of the country, that person is welcome. But that they are vehemently against any measure or coalition. Atiku insists that is the only way to unseat the APC in 2027. Also, there have been reports of certain PDP governors, no names mentioned, of about 7 PDP governors who may be planning a defection to the APC. While the coalition of united political parties has accused the ruling party of actually causing problems in opposition parties, can we accuse the APC now of being the ones who also are causing this problem where the PDP governors are saying they don't want a measure or a coalition?
You see, from the I recall that there was a day I was telling you that this coalition will not work. Because do you know how they catch monkeys in South America? You know the god, that big god.
Okay.
They will punch holes around the gourd, and then they will keep banana inside the gourd. But the entrance, the mouth of that gourd will be barely enough for the monkey to dip its hand.
So he has to reach in.
Now, once he dips his hand inside the thing and it gets hold of a banana, do you know what happens? You know, the moment he clutches the banana, the fish becomes bigger. So pulling it out now becomes a big problem until when the person that has snared the monkey gets there and take it. Just like that.
So the only way the monkey can escape
is to drop the banana.
And it would not want to.
And you will not want to.
Let's relate this to this situation.
Atiku wants to become president at all costs. So he's not going to allow any merger with PDP.
Really?
Yes.
But he's the one who's calling for a merger while the PDP governors are saying they don't want it.
It's a lie. It's a lie. Look, Winston Churchill, a great man in Britain who once ruled Britain, said, if we politicians don't trust ourselves, why should the common man on the street believe us when we tell them certain things? I've been in Arewa meeting where Atiku was saying something and somebody was interpreting it to me. And when he came face to face with cameramen and journalists, he said direct opposite of what he said inside that room. So Atiku has not given up. If anybody is deceiving anybody that Bala Mohammed of Bauchi and Peter Obi will form a coalition, and it's a lie. The last political party Obi will hope to get to and get any ticket is PDP.
But here's the thing. Obi himself has said that he's open to a coalition, and that the people who want the coalition are already interfacing with the Labour Party, not him as an individual, and that he's hoping that this measure, this coalition, would actually come to being. Are you saying he should not trust Atiku?
He shouldn't trust him. Because they say once beaten, twice shy. Has Atiku not beaten him once? So at his own risk, if he gets to PDP and last minute is dumped, Atiku is not ready to trade the presidential ticket of PDP with anybody. And so whatever they are doing now is a game plan that will not favor anybody other than Atiku. And I can also assure you that some governors are still under the influence of Wike. And Wike still owes some aces in PDP that can upturn whatever plan any faction in PDP is holding against this present administration.
There are a lot of Nigerians who believe that a coalition is the only way to beat the APC in 2027. The same way a coalition came up and also snatched power from the PDP in 2015. Now, here's the thing. Other people believe that, oh, if we get a coalition brought the APC, how do we know that the party which will come out of this coalition will also not be worse than the APC? Shuwore has also flouted. He's also flown that idea, saying, look, if we had a coalition before, we've seen what happened. Why should we have a coalition again? But political analysts like yourself also believe that if Atiku runs under the PDP in 2027, Obi runs under the Labour Party, maybe Rufai, others, SDP, that the votes which are supposed to accrue to the opposition as a whole will be divided and the APC will continue in 2027.
And that is exactly what will happen. I can bet you.
So all of these political permutations, sensitization, everything we've been talking about is all bullocks.
You see, let me tell you, Tinubu is such a strategic politician that, you know, he doesn't talk when it comes to this game. He would rather wait and strike when it matters most. I can assure you that this so-called coalition is not going to work. Because when you look at the whole setup of the coalition, show me anybody. Is it Atiku? Is it, what is this man? Is it El Rufai? Just name them. That has not crossed from one line to the other, just in search of his own personal interest. So are they going to divorce themselves from that personal interest today or tomorrow that we think coalition will work amongst them? El Rufai is just aggrieved. If in the next 6 months, if Tinubu 5 calls El Rufai to Aso Rock and say, okay, now this is what is in the offering. We are offering you this, we are doing this, we are doing that. El Rufai, that same El Rufai will come out and say, coalition cannot work, that Tinubu should be the next president in 2027. These are people that are aggrieved. It's not as if they love Nigeria. When Wike was making trouble because Atiku outsmarted him and got PDP ticket, he gave the impression that he was fighting for rule of law and the masses. Now, where did he land? Where did he land him?
We're looking at
That's
the
the style of an average politician. They make their personal problem look like your problem and my problem. And when they finish using us, they arrive at their destination and you never get close to them to even ask them questions.
All of these strategies that we're talking about, this is not the first time we are hearing, oh, President Tinubu is a master strategist. It's part of his strategy sowing discord within opposition political parties like the CUPP is alleging.
It's part of the political game.
But it's not a game to Nigerians because this has to do with our daily lives, right? We understand that politics affects us even to the extent where we do not understand, where we do not expect it to. It affects the prices of food in the market. The average Nigerian, the average human being needs to eat food and drink water to live. Maslow's hierarchy of needs before you can even have an ambition.
Choma, like it or not, these people are not for us. They are not for us. And when you now begin to locate idealism, morality in Nigerian politics, then you'll be suffering heart attack if you are not careful. Because these people will continuously disappoint you and they will never stop disappointing you. These are people that are only interested in their own butter and bread. They don't care about us. They don't care about... If you had ever witnessed where politicians, not just these small politicians, big politicians, when they talk, you see that they will place Nigeria map on the table like this and they'll be sharing it. They are sharing land mass and mineral resources and not you and I. Nobody cares about you and I. So long as whatever is coming up, policies are in their favor. So the high time we Nigerians begin to look beyond morality and idealism, that's when we can get it right. And that's when we can be able to challenge these people who are just riding roughshod on us and getting to power and discarding us.
It's quite unfortunate, Mr. Dele Fanimo. But ahead of 2027, how would you expect that Nigerians should position themselves if you and others strongly believe that there is nothing the opposition can do to remove the APC?
You see, the point is, there's a way you talk and make your voice heard. Through organized protests that is not hijacked, through media engagement, and through calling for transparency and accountability from the least politician to the president. Are we ready? Yaya Bello was accused of stealing over 180 billion. Who organized rally for him in Kogi?
Some argue that it's sponsored.
Why did they take money?
Well, the people are poor.
Have we eradicated poverty?
Do we have policies to eradicate poverty?
Those who want you to remain perpetually in poverty, they will never make policies that will take you out of poverty. But it is you that will take yourself out of poverty by resisting. Ghana, we are not talking about America, we are not talking about Europe. Ghana here, politician came with trailer loads of rice. All of them rejected it. You think it's for nothing that Mahama came back to office after losing an election for a second time? Because people are resolute. If you say because you are poor, you can't resist 5,000, 10,000, then you continue in poverty. Are you telling me that if a senator comes to his constituency and they ask him questions, sir, the last time we saw you was 3 years ago. Now, 1 year to another election, you are coming to bring rice, you are coming to bring so and so. Now, we don't want. Let's try another person. The other person will think twice before misbehaving. But they will stay in Abuja, they will fly to Paris, they will fly to America, Canada, and then when they come back, 6 months to election, they will bring trailer loads of rice and Ankara and distribute to you. You will take. Have you not mortgaged your next 4 years?
Because of our time, Mr. Fanimo, I want to quickly explore a line of thought where doesn't it seem suspicious that while there are reports that about 7 PDP governors want to defect to the APC, the PDP governors then come together and say they are rejecting the coalition, which seems to be the only way that they can actually usurp the APC?
I have told you, they move Bauchi governor, Bala Mohammed, among the PDP 11 governors. Is it Seyi Makinde that will look at Tinubu in the face and say no?
So they're scared of him?
It's not a question of they're scared of him. He had pact with them.
Were you there, Mr. Fanimo?
He had pact with them. Okay, I'll give you an example. When Makinde was preparing for the second time, that was when Wike started trouble and got 5 PDP governors to his side. You know what happened?
So in working with Wike, they have worked with the president.
Who is Wike? Who is Tinubu in this game? Are they not Siamese twins? Do you need anybody to tell you that? That Wike and Tinubu, they are in the same boat? Makinde went to US. He said he was going on leave. To consolidate his hold on Oyo State, he removed his deputy governor and placed somebody that would hold forth for him as a placeholder and will hand over when he comes back. He went to the US. A day to when these 5 PDP governors, including Ugwanyi and some other people, were to meet with Tinubu in Britain, he cut short his leave, came down to Britain and attended that meeting. You think there was no pact at that meeting? And you think that he will not hold on to that pact and some of these other governors? I have told you, first realize that there is no political party in Nigeria. There is just platforms. You only have platforms here.
So what we have are people who care more about their political future than the situation of the country.
They care more about their political future because Once they taste that forbidden fruit, they don't want to take their mouth away from it. And that forbidden fruit is too juicy than the one Eve offered Adam.
Mr. Fanimo, it would be quite unfortunate if the political class continues to see politics as a game rather than as a way of actually helping the people whom they claim to represent. We'll continue to call on the federal, state, and local government to do everything that they can to make the lives of Nigerians better, no matter how little. It's really not about sharing money. It's about entrenching policies and reforms that make the life of the people better. It's about doing things that will make the people say, yes, our government cares about us. Mr. Fanimo, we need to go. Okay. You have any concluding thoughts?
My concluding thought is followership has responsibility and leadership also have responsibility until we begin to get it right. And followership says, no, we are not going this direction. And then that's where we will begin to change leadership. And until then, nothing is going to change. 2027 will come, 2031 will come, 2035 will come, and until thy kingdom come, until we say no to stomach infrastructure politics, we are not getting anywhere.
So Nigerians, when the time comes, choose wisely. You've been listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Just before we wrap up, let's take a look at the top stories again. You heard that there was anguish as Plateau community buries 51 killed in fresh attacks. Peter Obi blasts Governor Leah for blocking him from visiting Benue. PDP governors reject measure and coalition. And Trump freezes $2 billion in Harvard funding after university rejects demands. That is a wrap on the World News at 12. My name is Chioma Innocent. Good afternoon. Thank you for listening.